So, unfortunately, not so many people are interested in you than in AI. So, but we can talk about AI. How about that?
I didn't get the best luck with my slot, I guess, after the hottest topic right now.
No, it's going to be good. So, Philipp, first of all, thank you that you're here.
Sure.
It's really meaningful for me. For those of you who do not know Philipp, he's probably the most influential automotive blogger, influencer, right?
Something like that, like a B2B influencer in Germany, in German language.
Yeah. So I remember when I met you a couple of years ago and you told me that you want to build a newsletter for the B2B automotive industry.
I remember you didn't really believe in the idea.
Correct. I was like, he's not going to make it. And now I think there is probably no CEO of any automotive company on earth who's not subscriber of your newsletter, correct?
I would hope so. Yeah, it would be better for the companies to subscribe to it, to keep up to date what's happening.
Not only to subscribe, but probably to listen. Yeah. I was just this morning watching a YouTube about the downfall of Porsche, and I was like, oh my God. They lost like, what was this year, 98% of their revenue drop or something like that. It's absolutely horrible.
Yeah. It's kind of a little bit similar to what you just said, like everything is changing so fast, and automotive used to be a pretty stable business model and a pretty stable business in general, but now everything seems to happen all at once and change all at once. I always describe it like we are experiencing like 3 major technological shifts at the same time. Like we're going from combustion engine to EVs, as we all know. We're going from hardware to software. So like the automotive industry is going through the same thing like we had experienced with feature phones and smartphones. Like the product is more and more getting defined by software, not by hardware anymore. I think for German auto industry, that's the biggest shift. And we are going, the third big shift is like from self-driving to autonomous driving, which is also gigantic, and that's kind of the link to AI, which you just talked about.
Absolutely, yeah. So what we're seeing is like the Nokia moment of the automotive industry, right?
Let's hope we don't see a Nokia moment for German automotive industry.
So that brings us to the topic. Do you have hope?
I have hope, but it is pretty challenging, and it will stay pretty challenging for many years to come. Because what I just told you about the 3 technological shifts, those are not the biggest problem of German automotive. The biggest problem of German automotive is the cultural shift from coming from a traditional industrial company, from a hardware maker, to becoming a software-first company. And that's a lot about mindset, about culture, about the operating model of the whole organization. And that's where we see German automotive companies struggle the most, and still struggling.
Yeah, I think so. So you spent nearly a decade at Mercedes-Benz, which is pretty the holy grail of German engineering, right? And then you walked away to become an independent blogger, author. So can you take me back to that specific moment when you realized that you need to leave? What did go in your brain? What was it?
You know, I could tell you like some kind of beautiful heroic story where I sit in the meeting and saw like, okay, I can make really a difference if I quit my job and do something from the outside. But as always, like such decisions are kind of personal. You just feel that you need to change something, but that's more on the personal side. Now, with a few years in between, I made one important learning that if you are within such a big corporation, it's like a microcosmos inside there. It's a whole own world with own rules, own politics, own processes that outside people won't understand how the world works inside these big corporations. And I think it's pretty good if you know both of the perspectives. And I would say, like, for my job today, it was the best school to spend 10 years within the company, and also now to have spent like around 6 years outside and have like both of the perspectives. But back then, it was just like my feeling that the learning curve is flattening. I didn't had to learn anything anymore, and I just like had this now or never moment. Either I get old within Mercedes, like many of my colleagues did, or I take the chance and see what the world has to offer outside of this big corporation, and I'm very happy that I made this decision.
Well, I think it worked very well for you. So, my favorite topic, Asian speed. So you talk a lot about China speed. We all know they are faster, but how about the cost of our own perfectionism, like German quality? Is German quality still a thing, or is the China speed with better than German quality?
German quality definitely is still a thing, and it's the kind of the largest asset we have as German automakers. German cars are known for their quality, for their big brands, for their reliability. I think all over the world, if you walk around, like here in Ho Chi Minh City, you see if someone drives a German brand, they always have like this small German flag on something. Like German quality and German brands really mean something still all around the world. So that's the asset we still have, and we have to fight to definitely keep it. But as you said, like other countries, especially Chinese companies, are much faster than German companies, and they are currently defining the new default speed. So we can't continue working like we worked in the past. We have to adapt to get on their speed. And like the major shift is we are moving at hardware speed, like the industry did for a century, and China moves at software speed. And that's the big shift. Like I said before, we have to become a software-first company. And that's pretty struggling for us.
It is. Isn't it also like that that the whole, like, for example, what I've read is that BYD is so immensely successful because they produce pretty much everything themselves. So they are not relying on an ecosystem of any other partners which deliver the parts.
Yeah.
And whereas our automotive industry traditionally has like hundreds or thousands of companies who produce their parts.
Yeah. So German Automotive made one big mistake in the past, around like 10 years ago, when we thought about the strategy for the shift from going from combustion engine, which in the past and still kind of is the heart of the car, is the engine itself, to going to EVs, then kind of the heart disappears because the engine is not there anymore. The new heart is like the battery. It's all about batteries. That's like the core competency when it comes to making electric cars. And German Automotive decided that's not a core competency for us. We just buy those batteries. And if we look at the leaders when it comes to EVs, like BYD, like you said, they are owning the complete supply chain for batteries. And thus they can manufacture and can produce cars on a much lower cost scale than the German automotive makers can, because they have to buy the battery from someone else, and that costs like margin.
I mean, if I might say, at least, I mean, as I said, I just watched a documentation about the downfall of Porsche, that I would say also German managers are didn't really make the smart decisions over the last couple of years. Like, for example, Porsche. if you say like the heart of a car is the engine, why does somebody buy a Porsche? Because of the sound, because of the engine. Like an electric Porsche, it's not really so smart. Whereas an electric vehicle for your family or your daily thing is something different. So they rolled out the EV, nobody bought it, and then they tried to roll back the wheel and go back in time, which is extremely costly, and nobody knows if it's going to work.
Yeah. I think like the shift from going from combustion to EVs for Porsche is the most challenging out of all German manufacturers, because like the identity of Porsche is very, very closely linked to the combustion engine, like these loud engines and like sporty cars. So it's super challenging for them to make this shift, because what is an electric Porsche? It's not just a Porsche with an electric engine, right? You have to reinvent the whole product, the whole brand, and they didn't crack this yet. And for now, they are kind of noticed, okay, if we just make a Porsche like we did in the past with an electric engine, people don't want to buy this car and don't seem to like this car. They want a classic Porsche. So that's why they kind of rolled back, and now there's different strategies. Of course, you could think like a Rolex strategy. You know, you also have like a smartwatch, but there are still like people buying very expensive like mechanical watches. So that could be a strategy of Porsche, that they say like, okay, everyone is shifting to EVs, but we are not. We are like owning this niche of very sporty combustion cars, or that's the more hard way. We kind of develop a vision and a concept of what a Porsche is in the future with an electric engine, and which is software defined.
Now I have a question for you which we did not talk about, but I hope you can answer it. I think one of the biggest problems with EV is the drop in value when you sell them or want to sell them as a used car.
Yeah.
Because nobody want to buy a Porsche and then it's just worth half.
Yeah.
Immediately, if at all. So, and I deal with the same. I just want to buy a BYD M9 here, which is not substantially more expensive than the car I have, but the financing rates are double because the value drops so brutal.
Yeah.
And I think this is something what we see global. Do you have an answer to that challenge?
That's kind of a dilemma within this transition phase, which is for automotive companies very, very expensive. Because on the one hand, you have to develop and produce combustion cars. On the other hand, at the same time, you have to develop and produce EVs at the same time. And the ramp up of EVs is kind of like wherever you go on the world, like in the US, it's kind of going down because of Trump's new policies. In Europe, we see like a slightly curve up. And in China, it's going like the fastest. And yeah, that's not easy for companies, but saying, okay, we just wait until the market is ready for EVs, and then we make the shift, then you are too late, because then you have competitors who already own the market and are ahead like 10 years with their technology, and then you come like, okay, now we made the decision, the market is ready, then you're too late to the party, and you probably won't find a way in anymore. That's the big dilemma of traditional legacy automakers right now, that they have to attend at two parties at the same time.
Yeah, interesting. Let's go back to the German quality thing. When I prepared for this session, I read that the German automotive industry is scared of the quality in China. Do you agree to that?
Of the increasing quality of Chinese brands?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like I said earlier, that's our biggest asset. Is like the trust in the brands. Those brands have been there for the last 100 years. They are reliable. If you buy a German car, you kind of know, okay, if something is wrong after I buy this car, I will. Everywhere on the world, I will find like a workshop and some kind of person who can help me out. Like, and you kind of trust in German engineering. That those guys know how to build good hardware, and it's kind of reliable. But if there is competitors from China who build who like achieve to build cars at like a cost scale of 50% or less of the cost of German automakers, and they can also achieve the same quality level and the same reliability, and also in the long term the same level of trust, then we have a problem.
Do you have an example for me where you would say like, okay, this is a feature, or this is what you have seen where German engineers worked 3 years on it and proudly released it just to find out that it's too late or the world moved on?
You know, there was just like the big announcement in the press from Mercedes-Benz. They developed like for their new S-Class, they always had like this drive pilot, this level 3 autonomous driving system. And everyone in Germany was super proud of it because we're the only, Mercedes-Benz and BMW were the only companies in the whole world who had achieved certification for the streets of level 3 autonomous driving systems. Short like introduction, like those levels. Level 2 is like autonomous driving systems, like the car helps you steering and braking. And level 4 is what we know of Waymo, for example, where you really can sleep in the car and the car just drives itself. And level 3 sits kind of in the middle. And within the industry, level 3 kind of occurred to be the dead end. But like the problem was, like German engineers saw this autonomous driving like an hardware engineering challenge. So they started with level 2, and what comes after level 2? Of course, we work on level 3. And after level 3, we will then go to level 4. What like software first competitors did, like a lot of Chinese manufacturers, like Li Auto, like Xiaomi, but also Tesla, they said, that's not an engineering channel. Autonomous driving is a software challenge. It's a data challenge. It's an AI challenge. And it's not about developing the best algorithms to handle each situation that can occur anywhere on the world. It's about collecting as much data as possible. We have to get as much as video data, traffic data as possible. So how can we get as much as technology out on the streets to collect this data? So they go with level 2. Level 2 is much cheaper to sell than level 3. Level 3 costs like 9,000 euro extra if you buy this car. And level 2 costs maybe, most of the Chinese players give it for free if you buy the car. And then you have masses of cars out on the street. They are collecting data, and then they just skip level 3, use the data of level 2 cars, train an AI, and then offer level 4 cars, and just skip level 3. And that was like a dilemma where we really worked really long, invested a lot of energy, resources, and money in developing level 3, just to find out that's a dead end. Let's go with level 2 and then try to reach level 4.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad that we have this talk today. Yesterday we had on the stage the Automation Day. We had pretty much all of the automotive suppliers in the room. And from Mercedes to Bosch to, they were all here. They're not here on a Saturday. That also tells us a lot about their work ethics and their willingness to learn. No, seriously. Yeah. So, and especially in a time where things are changing so dramatically. So, let's say you would be the CEO of one of these classic tier 2 suppliers, yeah, and that you would produce some high quality metal parts. And then you look at 2026 and what's coming. What would you change? Is there any radical pivot where you would say, like, I need to change this now, or otherwise I'm out of business in 3 years?
You know, I used to be a consultant, and we always do this the same way. We analyze the status quo. So where do we stand, and what's kind of our product portfolio? How is our market developing? And if you are a German, like in German Mittelstand, we call it, like a small, medium supplier, you probably have a lot of exposure with the combustion engine. So you can think that probably your addressable market will shrink in the future, because if we zoom out, then it's like an X-curve. Within the world, there will be less and less combustion engine cars be sold and more EVs, until a time where combustion engine is just like kind of a tiny niche, and the majority of the market will be EVs. So you have to think about, okay, what do I want to dominate within the niche? Do I want like to be the last man standing, like the best in the world, and just supply those last manufacturers that manufacture combustion engines? Or do I want to pivot into like something else? And if I'm going to pivot into something else, then I should think about like what's my unfair advantage. So where do I have like an advantage over anyone who just like has some capital and starts? And then you have to look, okay, what kind of competencies do I have? And like what we are seeing right now, what many like suppliers are doing, they are pivoting, for example, into defense. Because it's like not so different building a car or supplying parts for a car than for a tank, and there's a lot of capital flowing into defense right now. We all know the situation, and you also told us about what happens if AGI is developed. We have to prepare for that moment, right? And the other thing which is kind of like ramping up right now is robotics, and many automotive companies currently pivoting into robotics, because robotics has like an overlap of 70% in their supply chains with automotive manufacturing. So there you have kind of an unfair advantage. If you like good at producing parts for cars, then you probably have a lot of what it takes to produce cars for humanoid robots. And the robotics market is projected to be larger than the automotive market in general. So that's a huge market for the future, and that would be another thing. And last but not least, like automotive also is not shrinking. So you can also think about, if you are like a traditional German company who supplies parts for Volkswagen and Mercedes, maybe you should look for Chinese manufacturers. And if you can also win them as clients and provide parts for them, for example, that would also be an option.
Great answer. Philipp, I could talk hours for you. I find this quite fascinating. Unfortunately, we only have half an hour. I couldn't even ask all the questions I prepared. I'm looking forward. You're still here today?
Sometime I still have to record a YouTube video today, so that will be...
so that means, so if you have any questions, hunt them down right after this talk. He's quite elusive, but I think that was a fascinating insight. And I've never thought about that these suppliers could pivot into robotics. That's a really good answer. I really enjoy it, and I think there's the answer for a lot of companies. Thank you for being here.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Thank you, Mr. Lars.